How to save $10,000 on minimum wage. When you're earning minimum wage, the task of saving money can be intimidating, especially when you consider just how much the cost of, just about everything you buy these days keeps going up. Fortunately, with the right saving strategy, anyone can save up to $10,000 on a minimum wage, and you'll learn how you can do just that right now. Trying to save money on a low income is tough. Mathematically, the odds are certainly against you. However, what tends to hold you back more than the dollars and cents is your mindset. If you've worked for minimum wage before, you'll know that it's hard to inspire hope for financial progression whenever you receive a paycheck, and it looks like a zero is missing off the end of it. This feeling of despair is an impediment to saving for two reasons. First, when people feel as if there is no hope for saving, they tend to spend any extra money they could have stashed away, thinking that these minor saving efforts are futile in nature. Now sure, they probably won't make you rich, but they could help set you in the right direction and allow you to build the habit of saving, which is the reason element that is hindered when you are feeling financially hopeless. Whether you are making minimum wage or 6 figures a year, we all need to learn the habit of saving money, and the reality is that if you can't manage to create this habit in your life now, when you do make money, which you will, you risk losing more down the road. Unfortunately, inspiring hope in those making low incomes is easier said than done, but it truly is the first step in saving up to $10,000. And when you can think about it as building a habit for the future, you're ready to take the next step in your quest for a 5-figure bank balance, which is to set a goal. If someone told you to drive somewhere you've never been before and didn't give you any instructions, what do you think the chances would be you would find your way? Likely pretty low. Well, without a plan, your chances of saving up to $10,000 will be just as low. And people in your position know this because they're used to struggle to save money for this exact reason. They used to think that they understood how to set and achieve financial goals. They would start the year, tell themselves that they wanted to save a certain amount of money and hope for the best. However, there are quite a few flaws in this approach, and with the first being that it's simply too vague. When you just state you want to save a certain amount of money, you really have no actionable steps to follow to get there. Instead, you try and make the right financial decisions day after day, hoping that all your actions will amount to the financial results you desire. This is like trying to lose weight without tracking your calories. Sure, you may be eating healthily, but you could still easily be overeating and making much less progress than you think you are. Unfortunately, this approach will leave you struggling to save for years. But the good news is that with the tips you're about to learn, you'll be able to save the money you want, whether that's $10,000 or more. Generally speaking, the more detailed your goal is, the better. Keeping your goal simple is key, and each goal should answer 3 main questions of what, when, and how. So in this case, the what is saving up to $10,000. The when is whenever you want to have this money accessible to you, so let's say in the next 12 months. Finally, we have the how. This is the most important part, as it outlines how you're going to make your savings goal a reality. The easier response to this final aspect of your saving goal is to spend less money, but as you know, this is still way too vague. A better answer to this question is to outline the exact steps you're going to take to stash away the $833 a month it takes to save up $10,000 in a year, which we will talk a bit more about now. What you'll find that most people realise is that they need to save money. They need to save for an unexpected expense, to feel as if they're making financial progression, or to buy that new car they've had their eye on for years. The problem is that most people go about saving all wrong, and quite frankly, it's not their fault for doing so. For many years, we've been bombarded with advice to cut our Starbucks coffee, cancel our cable, and to look for coupons in order to save money. This is like trying to cut your lawn with a pair of scissors. It will work, but it's going to take forever. Plus, most of us have been raised to put the money from these minor saving efforts into the bank for safekeeping. And while this makes sense to the untrained saver, those with more financial education know that this is a death trap for your money, as inflation eats away at your cash more by the day. Fortunately, if you've been making this mistake, you will never have to gain, as you're about to learn about the savings pyramid, which ensures that you prioritise the saving efforts that are the most meaningful en route to actually saving money, even when making minimum wage. In order to save up to $833 a month and work towards your goal of saving $10,000, you're going to want to focus the majority of your efforts on the bottom of the pyramid, which are your core monthly expenses. On this level are expenses such as rent and mortgage payments, transportation, and food and entertainment. Now you may be wondering why these sit at the base of the pyramid, so let's go over that now. These expenses, while the costliest, are also the expenses that offer you the best opportunities for saving. For instance, it's much easier to shave off $300 in housing costs than in cable cutting when you're not even spending $300 in cable a month in the first place. Plus, these are all costs you're already incurring, so it's almost guaranteed that they can be used to pad your bank account by making some adjustments. Not to mention, each one of these cost categories have substitutes within them, which means that none have to be eliminated, which is good news because I doubt you wanted to be told you had to go and live under a bridge or stop eating in order to save money. So given that these are the core expenses you want to focus on to save money, let's go over an example of a substitution of each of these core expenses and roughly how much they can save you. Starting with housing, the obvious switch you can make is to downsize the space you currently live in. This may cramp your style, but until your income allows for more spacious living, this is one of the most effective ways to save money. For instance, in the US, the average 2-bedroom apartment is $1,300. The average studio apartment is $1,100. Right there's $200 in savings, or a quarter of the $833 you're trying to save. Next, we have transportation. Having a car is one of the greatest conveniences on earth, and sure does beat taking the bus, which is why so many people drive. However, nothing worth having comes without sacrifice, and it's for this reason that you may have to become more acquainted with the bus if this isn't already your primary mode of transportation. This means of saving is one that is really going to move your financial needle. Reports from earlier this year showed that the average person who drives 15,000 miles a year is incurring costs of $10,728 a year, or $894 a month. This is a stark contrast to the average bus pass cost of roughly $100 a month, which, if you calculate the difference, is your $800 in savings right there. However, you may not be paying $900 a month to drive your car, nor do you want to be totally reliant on just the bus to get around. So let's talk about 2 other ways to save money that will actually have your bank balance growing in a meaningful way. Next are your food costs. The good news is that I'm not going to tell you to stick to an ice-only diet, but the bad news is that if you want to use this expense as a means of saving money, you will have to get a bit more deliberate in how you buy your food. Right now, the average US household wastes $1,800 a year, or $150 a month on food. Chances are you're guilty of wasting food too, and that's okay, because we're about to fix that. The main reason people waste food is that they aren't doing a good enough job planning what they intend on eating. They go to the store and buy a ton of different things and then end up going out for a dinner or not wanting that food when the day would come to cook it, and it all would end up in the trash. This is simply a symptom of being lazy. However, when you're trying to save $10,000 or more on minimum wage, being lazy is not a luxury you can afford. Therefore, at the start of every week, identify exactly what you will eat at every upcoming meal and buy only what will satisfy that plan. Doing this will cut down waste dramatically and have you feeling much better about yourself at the same time. Finally, we have entertainment, and this is an expense that has to be handled delicately in your quest for saving money. It would be easy just to tell you to never go out to eat or buy new clothes ever again, even though this would save you a lot of money. However, in doing so, your life would become quite bland, and if you want to make saving money sustainable, you need not to feel totally deprived when doing so. As such, the best advice of saving money on entertainment costs is to do the following 2 things. First, identify one entertainment expense that you can eliminate. It could be buying a new video game or dress every single month. then substitute another entertainment expense for one that is cost-free. For example, swap those drinks with friends after work for a walk instead. This allows for the fun without the cost, so that you can avoid feeling totally deprived en route to saving up the $10,000 you desire. Once all these expenses have been addressed, the next level is to cut out minor costs. These are costs like Starbucks coffees that the media portrays are being the number one reason so many people are struggling to save money. In short, this second level is in place to remind you that small expenses do add up over time. However, they aren't where you should focus your cost-cutting efforts to get the best results. Finally, at the top of the pyramid is making more money. Now, making more money is actually the best way to save more money, and you could make an argument for it being at the base of the pyramid. However, I put it at the top because while it gives you more financial resources, it takes away something else, which is your time. In an ideal world, you could hit your savings goals without having to put in extra hours of work. However, this is not always feasible. As such, you may have to pull overtime at work or get a second job to make this happen. Alternatively, this is a way you can offset some of the expenses you simply don't want to give up, and that's okay too, as long as you're okay with putting in the work to meet the saving goals you set for yourself. Therefore, if you want to save $10,000 on a minimum wage, this should be a clear indication that it's possible. Will it take a lot of sacrifice? Of course, but like I said, nothing worth having comes without sacrifice. And now that you know how to streamline your path to this goal, all there's left to do is to make it happen.